Hello everyone, and welcome to this month's Project Home DIY. I'm Christine, your founder and curator of Project Home DIY. Let's get started. You all have received your boxes for May by now. Open them up and you're ready to begin with me. So I'm going to unbox mine and find all the contents wrapped up inside. So I have our planter, name tags, seeds. The kit for every little possible thing is inside there that we're going to need. If you're a new subscriber, welcome and thank you for joining us this month. This is your new subscriber kit. It comes with your paintbrush, hot glue sticks, hot glue gun, and sanding block. This month, we will just be needing the sanding block, nothing else as of right now. But keep it for future months because each time you get a new project each month, you may need these essential supplies in here. 3 hose clamps, stain bottle, 3 mason jars, and our piece of wood. So this is going to be pretty easy and straightforward. The very first thing we're going to do is stain our board so it's nice and ready and then can dry as quick as possible. And then we will add the hose clamps on, which you will need a hammer and a tape measure to do. And then we will work with our pods and our seeds. And that is pretty much all we have to do for this project. So it's super simple and easy. I thought it would be fantastic to be able to include 5 different seeds to give you a choice of possibly what you may use the most. You do have 5 Jiffy pods. You can choose to use all of those and plant one of each, see what maybe grows best. Totally up to you, but then once they're transferred to the mason jars, you can choose which 3 you want to use and maybe even find different mason jars or more to include all 5 if you choose. There is enough seeds in all of these to fill those pods and grow your plants perfectly, and that's all you need to get started, so let's go. All right, so first we'll open up the little baggie that has everything in it, including your 3 nails for nailing on the hose clamps later, your Jiffy pods, these are awesome if you haven't used them before, for planting seeds and doing starters, and your gloves, which you're going to need first when staining your board. If you choose not to stain your board and want a different color, if you want to paint it, that's okay. You can paint it. Totally up to you how you want to do this, but for right now we included stain with this project just because it gives a nice contrast behind the plants when they're green. This is a beautiful, it's called dark walnut stain, and so it just is a pretty color when those plants actually come in and grow. So that's why we chose that, but if it doesn't match with your decor, you can choose something else. All right, there's a small stain rag and your stain, so just put the stain on the rag and rub away. This is oil-based stain, so it is kind of stinky. When you're doing the ends, the grain right here, use a fresh dab of stain. Don't use a dry rag for doing that because those grainy ends are going to really soak it up. So make sure you for sure get the front of your board stained and covered, and then go to the back. Really pretty color brown. I like it. See, I have a wet ice rag to do those ends, and it'll soak it up really nicely. If you do it with a dry one, there won't be enough on there. Now I can do the back. And there should be just enough stain to do the full board. Okay, do once over on the top again, just to make sure it's nice and smooth and clean. And there is the finished stained board, all sides, okay? So I will meet you back here once your board is nice and dry, which takes about an hour. A little tip I like to give you is if you do have like a small heater, space heater, you can set these boards up like this, put the space heater in this, coming from this angle, and it'll dry all sides of your board. That just helps a lot with dry time, but it already feels pretty good to go, so it shouldn't take too long for that to dry. But give it about an hour, come back and we'll get started on that. Okay, back with the dried piece of wood. And if you want to take your sanding block from your kit and just sand the edges, you can do that and just wear off a little bit of the edges. You might like that look. Totally up to you. It's just optional. Okay, and then we're going to put on our hose clamps for the next step and place those with the nails and a hammer. So you are going to need a hammer for this step and a tape measure. The board you have is 18 inches long. So your first hose clamp will be right in the center, so mark that. And then the other one will be 3 inches placed from the left side and 3 inches placed from the right side. So at 3 inches, 9 inches, and 15 inches is where you'll place your clamps. And about in the same area of the board, across the center, you can kind of draw a line if you want. If you're holding your tape measure on there, that should be a straight line across the center. So you'll notice on your hose clamps there's a hole drilled. That's where you'll hammer that nail right in. So place that right on that, in that hole, and then hammer away. Okay, so once the hose clamps are placed, just kind of straighten them out, however you like to fix them, and they should be about like that. Make sure that the nail is hammered down as well as it can be, because once you put your jars inside and you tighten the clamp, if that nail is sticking out very far, it can puncture a hole and break your jar. So just make sure it is flat. And then also be very careful when you are tightening those, that you don't over tighten them and it will break your jar. So just be aware of that. Okay, so we'll set that aside. That guy's done for right now. And take our pods and get our seeds started. So I'm just gonna start my pods on a paper plate and let them start on there. Okay, pods are growing. They'll continue to expand and get a little bit bigger. Just let them continue soaking. But for right now, we'll go ahead and put the seeds in. So you'll notice you have 5 different packets the seed that it actually is the one that's circled. So you'll have dill, oregano, cilantro, Italian basil, and lemon balm seed. So you can kind of read which ones may suit your tastes, what you think you may use for sure. But go ahead and plant one of everything and get one of everything starting at least. And then you can choose later on which ones you actually want to put in the mason jar planter or not. So there's quite a few seeds in each packet itself, but for dill, just use a little pinch and go ahead and you just drop them right in the pod. And then I like to take like a little pencil tip and kind of just work them down in there. If you haven't used these before, they're super handy little pods. So just work them down in there so they get into the soil a little bit. Your oregano, or sorry, this is lemon balm seed. The oregano and the lemon balm seed are teeny, so you can't hardly see them. But it's pretty amazing to think that one full plant grows from one little tiny seed. So since you can't see that lemon one, just kind of work it down there a little bit, let it go. And I suggest on the side of your plate to write which ones they are. That's lemon, this was dill. And this will be our Italian basil. Another little seed. Just work it on down in there. Cilantro, the seeds are big. And cilantro is probably one of the most popular to grow. I would just put maybe 3 in this pod. Make sure you work them down in there. They like to be covered in soil for sure, so get that down in there. Okay, and then and my last one is the oregano. You'll have plenty of seeds to be able to plant more if you just love this type of seed. The oregano is teensy. So just like dust. Get that down in there. You should be good to go. Just keep adding a little water so your pods keep soaking it up. And there's our oregano. Okay, so those are good for a few weeks. You do not want to start transferring to your mason jar until you have good starters started. And then once you do transfer to your mason jars, that's what we'll work on now in looking at. So these guys just need to go in a window, put a little water in, and keep them nice and moist, but not overly too much moisture. I did include on the back of your instruction sheet a little blurb about each of the plants to give you a little bit better idea of how they grow and how they grow best. It is important in these mason jar planters that there is no drainage. Usually in a potting plant you would have holes in the bottom, but in a mason jar there is not. So we have a way to be able to give the plant some drainage still, and that's by putting rocks in the bottom. So you can see here I have some rocks in the bottom. And then once I go to place these guys, I'm gonna fill this with soil, separate out a little bit of room and place my pod in there and kind of break up that lining so the roots can get through. But then you are good to go with drainage because these rocks, the water will leak down in there. And here's what I mean by that. This is one of my old planters that I had on the wall for a long time. And as you can see, there's no plant in it. But the soil's down about halfway, and then I have rocks halfway. But when we water, that water will seep down in there and then go right into our rocks. See See, you can see it working its way down there. And that's a good way for your roots to be able to really suck down into the ground and get into the rocks and get water. So, and it keeps the soil nice and at a good moisture level. So I do recommend putting rocks in the bottom of your jar, then do your soil, and then place your pod. For the last step, it's back at our the wall holder. For mounting this on the wall, I suggest, these are going to be heavy because of the rocks and the soil and all that. So you do actually need to nail this directly to the wall. So have somebody help you with that if you need help with that, but do actually nail it directly to the wall. Try hitting, making sure you're into studs in the wall, which are usually 16 inches apart. So you should be able to put nails about here and here, about an inch in. And it won't really take away from the look of your board having nails being able to be seen, but if you want, you can move them in just a little bit so they're right behind the hose clamps and they hide a little bit. So for the jars, when you place them on, I'm going to turn this around so I can work this way. Place them however you want. If you want them up more, down more, whatever you would like. Just place them whatever suits you, as far as in the center of the board or hanging down a little bit, or you want this right on the rim. Remember, you're going to have big flowering pieces coming out of there, so that will look good in the future. So you'll just need a flathead screwdriver. This is relatively easy. Just place it in that screw there and twist around until you get the jar tightened in there. Jars are on, and that is what the final product looks like until your plants start growing. So I'm happy to give you a project that can give back to you and you are able to plant and hopefully make some things in the future from. So until next time, I'm Christine with Project Home, and I can't wait to create with you next month. See ya in June. Bye.